You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime, as much hell as America has raised on the earth. No, I will not allow America, or you, Mr. Wallace, to condemn them as the most corrupt nation on earth when you have spilled the blood of human beings. Has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet, because with that much blood on America's hands, you have no right to speak. I will speak because I don't have that blood on my hand. Yes, there's corruption there. Yes, there's mismanagement of resources. Yes, there is abuse. There's abuse in every nation on earth, including this one. So let's not play holy to moralize on them. Let's help them.
I'm not moralizing. I'm asking a question, and I got an answer.
Why would you put it as the most corrupt regime in the world? That doesn't make sense.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one. I'm living in one. Yes, you've done a hell of a thing on this earth, so you should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation.
And if there is a country that has committed unspeakable atrocities in the world, it is the United States of America. They don't care. They don't care for human beings. 57 years ago, when Japan was retreating on all fronts, they decided to drop the atom bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Killed a lot of innocent people who are still suffering from the effects of those bombs. Those bombs were not aimed against the Japanese. They were aimed against the Soviet Union to say, look, this is the power that we have. If you dare oppose what we do, this is what is going to happen to you. Because they are so arrogant, they decided to kill innocent people in Japan who are still suffering from that. Who are they now to pretend that they are the policemen of the world?
I would like to say to you frankly and openly here, in no way is the United States interested in upholding democracy. Each time that the United States invades nations, launches missiles, or finances regime change, it does so behind a propaganda campaign which incessantly repeats the message that it is acting in the cause of justice, freedom, and democracy, in the cause of human rights or for humanitarian reasons. I would like to say to you frankly and openly here, in no way is the United States interested in upholding democracy. If such were the case, it would not have financed coup d'etat and supported dictators. It would not have threatened with military intervention democratically elected governments, as it has done with Venezuela. The United States could not care less about human rights nor justice. If this were the case, it would have signed the international conventions and treaties for the protection of human rights. It would not have threatened the investigation mechanisms of the International Criminal Court, nor would it promote the use of torture, nor would it have walked away from the Human Rights Council, and nor would it have separated migrant children from their families, nor put them in cages. The United States is not interested in multilateralism. If it were interested in multilateralism, it would not have withdrawn from the Paris Agreement or given the cold shoulder to the Global Compact on migrant. It would not have launched unilateral attacks, nor have taken decisions such as illegally declaring Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel. Bolivia categorically condemns the unilateral actions imposed by the government of the United States of America against Iran. Likewise, we condemn the fact that the United States has withdrawn from the JCPOA, hiding behind pretexts to continue its policy of interference and meddling in the internal affairs of this brother country, Iran. I would like to hail those countries, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, China and Russia, who have held firm in defense of the nuclear agreement signed with Iran.
Iran has been the leading sponsor of terrorism, and their pursuit of nuclear weapons threatens the civilized world.
Hold on. Who is Donald Trump to talk about the civilized world? He can't be referring to the country that has over 4,000 nuclear warheads, 800 military bases around the globe, and which has been at war for 222 years out of the 239 years in its history. A country whose legacy includes hundreds of years of slavery and mass genocide against indigenous populations. That's what passes as the civilized world? What is civilized about being the country with the highest rate of incarcerated people in the world? What is civilized about a society that spends trillions of dollars on war but can't provide shelter to 500,000 of its people? What is civilized about dumping toxic waste next to poor indigenous, brown, and black communities and then creating policies to discriminate against and police them? There is nothing civilized about kidnapping children from their parents, throwing them in cages, denying them medical care, and letting them die under the custody of a U.S. governmental institution. There is nothing civilized about a president instituting Muslim bans, surveilling communities, emboldening white supremacists, or inciting hate against vulnerable populations every single day online. Our uncivilized wars are connected to militarized racism, discrimination, and hate crimes we see here at home. The U.S. has long categorized populations as civilized or uncivilized, as the basis for invading countries and bombing cities. The uncivilized become expendable, worthy of death, and all too easily ignored. As prominent intellectual Edward Said once said, every single empire in its official discourse has said that it is not like all the others, that its circumstances are special, that it has a mission to enlighten, civilize, bring order and democracy, and that it uses force only as a last resort. For decades, people across the Middle East have been devastated by the U.S. ventures in the region. Through war, military occupations, propping up dictators, imposing sanctions, and fueling civil wars, the U.S. has done enough damage to create economic, environmental, and mental health crises that will last generations. As an Arab and Muslim person who grew up as part of the post-9/11 generation, I have seen throughout my entire life how U.S. imperialism, military occupation, and racial profiling has devastated families and communities at home and abroad. As a Palestinian who goes back and forth between the U.S. and Palestine, I have witnessed how my family in the West Bank has been directly impacted by a decades-long military occupation, an occupation that's sustained by more than $30 billion in U.S. taxpayer money. There is nothing civilized about depriving populations of their freedom. The World War III memes people were jokingly posting on Twitter are a reality for people across the region, from Syria to Yemen, from Palestine to Iraq, from Afghanistan and Iran to Pakistan. For those of us living across the U.S., it's on us to support and amplify the demands of millions of young people across the Middle East who are calling for freedom, justice, and self-determination. It's on us to take a staunch anti-war stance and protest all forms of militarism, And it's on us to organize, go out into the streets, and demand that the United States become part of the civilized world.